So first of all, generative AI has been taking part in university education, especially in the past few years. As we look closely at this segment of our analysis, we have to recognize that AI-generated content has quickly become a staple for academia. Currently, by AGPI and Adobe, AI is being used by 92% of the undergrad population, increasing from 66% in 2024. Furthermore, data published in the Journal of Education Tracking Private Higher Education Frameworks shows that 31% of students now utilize generative AI tools to complete the vast majority of routine weekly tasks. This data indicates that AI is no longer a luxury, but deeply embedded in our reality. For the modern student, this rapid adoption is driven by an increase in daily operational efficiency that has never been seen. According to the Higher Education Policy Institute, or HEPI, a near universal 95% of current undergraduates use generative AI at least once to assist within their studies, with 51% stating saving time is their primary motive. AI acts like a personal professor in this case, removing any latency from contacting a real professor for minor confusions or small problems. Well, in the meantime, an Adobe Acrobat global study highlights that students are 3.5x more likely to gain. For the modern student, this rapid adoption is driven by an increase in daily operational efficiency that has never been seen. According to HEPI, 95% of current undergraduates use generative AI to assist with their studies, with 51% stating that saving time is their primary motive. AI acts like a personal professor in this case, removing any latency from contacting a real professor for minor confusions. Well, in the meantime, an Adobe Acrobat global study highlights that students are 3.5 times more likely to develop basics for new skills through artificial intelligence, increases the variety of the skills. Therefore, as a result, after students use technology to eliminate operational bottlenecks, they could free up active cognitive space for real-world skill building. However, this extreme efficiency creates a distinct structural risk, a cognitive surrender. HCPI dataset reveals that the proportion of students copy-pasting raw AI text directly into final assessments has quadrupled, climbing from 3% to 12% over the last 24 months. The consequences of this reliance are mapped clearly in a massive 26,000 student study published in Psychology Today. While unrestricted AI access causes immediate homework grades to climb by 18%, it triggers an unassisted 20% collapse in standalone exam scores within 6 months. Students are bypassing the necessary mental struggle required to retain information. Well, this segment of our analysis reveals that AI adoption is a high-stakes balancing act. It can either accelerate human capability or slowly dismantle it.
Imagine you submitted an assignment that you wrote yourself, but AI detector said it was generated by AI, and now you have to prove your own work. And this is becoming a real issue in universities in the last 12 months. AI detection tools are being used more often, but many researchers question whether they are accurate enough to make academic decisions. And today, I'll explain why these tools can create false accusations and why universities need a better approach. One major problem in the last 2 months is that these detectors are biased against ESL students. A study found that 61.3% of essays written by non-native English speakers were incorrectly flagged as AI generated. And for native English speakers, the false positive rate was only 7.7%. This happens because many multilingual students write in a more formal and predictable style, which detectors sometimes mistake for AI writing. And as a result, honest students can be unfairly suspected of cheating. On the other hand, this isn't just a small problem. Turning report a false positive rate of about 4% throughout the last 12 months. That may sound low, but when millions of assignments are submitted every year, it affects thousands of students. For example, 2,676 students at Ohio State were mistakenly accused, and more than 1,100 people signed a petition at the University at Buffalo after students were flagged by AI detectors. And this caused slow that relying too heavily on detection software can have serious consequences. And the good news is that universities are starting to change. Many schools now recommend using AI detection tools only as one piece of evidence instead of threading the score as a proof. And some universities have also created clear AI policies and encourage instructors to talk with students before making accusations. Around 65% of students also reported changing how they complete assessments because of AI. And also, to conclude, AI is not the biggest problem, and the bigger challenge is how universities manage it. Detection tools can be helpful, but they are not reliable enough to decide whether a student is cheated or not. Universities should combine technology with human judgment, clear policy, and fair investigation. Only they can protect academic integrities while also protecting honest students.
Let's dive further into how this instant access of information has been helping students in universities. One of the greatest advantages of instant access to information is the vast resources that students have. Students are no longer limited to physical libraries. With a click on their phones, they can access textbooks, apps, journals, articles, and educational databases. Along with that, with IT, now there are multiple ways to learn information, and this can be personalized to your learning style. You can go watch a video on YouTube, play learning games to enhance skills, and even carry out the experiments or labs. For university professionals and students, there is increased research collaboration. Researchers and students are no longer limited by geographical boundaries and can work together using cloud-based platforms, shared databases, video conferencing, and other collaborative software. However, the instant access to information has also contributed to the erosion of deep learning and sustained attention. Because information is readily available, many people spend less time actually reading books or engaging with complex material, and instead rely on short articles, videos, or even social media posts, because at the end of the day, as students, we often try to get to the solution quickly. The constant availability of new information and information overload from so many different sources encourage frequent task switching and multitasking, making it more difficult to maintain focus on challenging tasks, shortening the cognitive bandwidth. Instant access to information has fundamentally changed society by increasing connectivity, collaboration, and access to knowledge. But we should also take time to focus on deep learning and go read a physical textbook from time to time.
One of the clearest ways information technology has reshaped education in the past 12 months is personalized AI tutoring. The university tutor has quietly gone from a scarce timetable resource to an always available one. Every student gets a patient one-to-one instructor that adapts to their pace at a scale no faculty roster could ever staff. Now, the evidence is now empirical, not aspirational. In a randomized trial in Harvard's largest Intro to Physics course, around 194 students taught by a purpose-built AI tutor learned more than twice as much in less time than peers in class active learning and felt more motivated doing it. But this was not a raw chatbot. It was fine-tuned on pedagogy, fed correct solutions toward hallucination, and told to reveal only one step at a time. But that same personalization effect carries a risk the literature calls the crutch effect. In a trial of roughly 1,000 high school students, standard GPT-4 tutor lifted practice performance by about 48%, but when it was taken away, those students scored 17% worse on the exam than peers who never had any AI at all. They had copied solutions without building the skill and could not tell it was happening. The decisive variable was design, not access. A guardrailed version that gave hints instead of answers lifted practice by 127% and erased the penalty. This segment reveals the same double-edged running through our whole analysis. A well-scaffolded AI tutor can compress a semester of one-to-one instruction into a laptop, or it can quietly hollow out the very capability it appears to be building. At scale, the difference is not the technology, it is whether the tutor is engineered to make the student think.
Digital transformation, or DX, is driven by shifting technology, changing workforce needs, and an evolving definition of what higher education is for. True transformation requires looking past individual software tools. It demands a synchronized shift across institutional culture, workforce capability, and technology architecture. The macro goal is to fundamentally remake teaching, redefine research, and change the financial value proposition of the university. Operationally, universities face complex security threats and a major migration from local data centers to the cloud. To manage student access, institutions are leveraging APIs to link systems, deploying predictive analytics and integrated advising networks. On the teaching side, this infrastructure powers advanced pedagogy, including active learning classrooms and extended reality XR tools that transport students into environments like outer space or the nanoscale. This evolution disrupts the traditional university business model. The historical monopoly of the four-year degree is breaking. Students are shifting towards flexible micro-credentials, professional certifications, and lifelong learning networks to combat job automation. In this new landscape, agile, risk-tolerant universities will secure a competitive advantage, while risk-averse institutions will lag behind. Finally, relying on massive corporate tech platforms creates severe risks surrounding data privacy and algorithmic opacity. Higher education must actively govern these systems to protect its core mission of teaching people how to think, rather than yielding to unchecked corporate extraction.